in the first 10 matchups, but these last 3 over the last 2 seasons, it's been the Wolverines that have had Maryland's number. You go back to last year's matchup, 12-11 in favor of Michigan. In the Big Ten Tournament Championship in 2023, Michigan 14, Maryland 5. And then here at CQ Stadium 2 years ago, Michigan dominating in the faceoff late in that game, won 16-11, kind of stunned Maryland. And as the Terps went on that spiral to end 23, it was really in part to how this Michigan team played.
And there is the Michigan starting lineup, as you see a good amount of sophomores, but also some experience in the starting lineup as well. Ryan Cohen leading the way, the Tewaaraton watch list member for the Wolverines. And this is a Michigan team that, although hasn't historically been as good in this series, this is a team that they can play in the postseason. They've won the last two Big Ten tournaments. They have plenty of good players, plenty of award winners on this team. And you take a look at the Terps on the other side, they're trying to make sure that they end that streak as you take a look at their starting lineup there. Yeah, just a
nice blend for Maryland of the transfers and the returning guys, younger guys and experienced guys, none more experienced than McNaney like we've talked about already. But for Maryland in the goal department, Eric Spanos, Braden Urksa, Daniel Kelly, and Matthew Keegan each have 12 goals. Keep an eye on those 4, as well as Bryce Ford just behind them at 11 goals to be the main goal scorers today for the #1 team in the country.
It's been much more of a scoring by committee kind of approach for the Terps on offense, but so far it's been successful. The team #1, of course, in the country, 7-0, including really good wins versus ranked teams such as Richmond, Syracuse, Princeton, and then the crowning achievement a couple weeks ago in Atlanta on a neutral site, taking down Notre Dame, the team that they, of course, lost to in the national championship last year. The other side for Michigan has been the opposite story. The ranked teams have been their kryptonite. But what can they do here against the best ranked team, the #1 team in the country, as we're just about ready to go? That's Shea Keithler getting ready for the faceoff for the Terps against Jack Rideout for the Wolverines. Just about ready. Both players with their sticks on the turf. 15 minutes on the clock. Here we go. We're underway as a battle for the faceoff, still on the ground. Looks like the Wolverines are going to get it first. An errant pass allows Maryland to take possession.
For McDonald, he's been so good in that ground ball department this year. No different to start this game for the Terps.
McDonald. Backwards to Keegan. You mentioned it, Nate. 12 goals on the season for him. Really good player transferring over from Binghamton. Here's Urksa. Urksa dishes. Here's Whittier. Back into the middle with Bryce Ford. Back to Urksa. Urksa spins. Wants to take the first shot. He overshoots the top of the cage. That's Hunter Taylor in goal for the Wolverines. A homecoming for him out of Rockville. Went to Landon. Terps will keep possession. Here's Whittier. Whittier near the goal. Here's Keegan at X. He retreats, now goes across to Ford. Just getting started here, no score. Ford bounces one. Urksa had a little bit of trouble with it, and the Terps turn it over.
That's a rare turnover on a first possession for this Maryland attack. They had some shooting lanes. You saw Urksa take that shot. Thought Whittier might have had a lane when he came in off the whistle as well, but just a errant pass, and now Michigan gets a chance to take the first lead of the game.
First look for the Wolverines on offense, and here is Ryan Cohen, the senior. Hands it out to Jenkins. All the way back, the Wolverines will toss it around. It's a Michigan team. We know they can score, but against a Maryland defense, they're really going to have to put the ball in the net. Here's their first look on offense. Cohen inside. Thought about the shot was Stannett, but he has to pass it away. Michigan looking for that first goal, but Stannett just couldn't get the ball. It's going to stay with the Wolverines. It looked like it might have been deflected by a Terp.
Yeah, it was, and that's just part of the stifling Maryland defense, one of the best in the country, third best scoring defense in the nation this year.
Here's Jack Jenkins. Over to John Morgan. Out to Cohen. Cohen from far out. Gets help from a screen, takes a shot on McNaney, but it goes far to the right. Out of bounds.
Cohen mainly that facilitator, the main guy with assists on this Michigan team with 18, second in the Big Ten, but he's not afraid to let it fly either.
Last 5 seconds on the shot clock, and Michigan opens up the scoring. Lucas Stannett makes it 1-0 Wolverines. And the Princeton transfer starts things off here in the first quarter.
That's a nice way to get the day started for Michigan. Stannett now tied for the team lead in goals as we take another look. Seconds are winding down on the shot clock. Michigan's got to get a shot off. It's not the best angle, where that skip will work more times than not. And the Wolverines make a statement in the first 2.5 in College Park.
Beats Logan McNaney in that bottom right corner, so we head back for another face-off. Ball still on the ground, and Michigan scoops it up. This is Rideout. Still with it along the near side as he finds Jack Jenkins, the sophomore out of Hudson, Ohio. Scored last week versus Notre Dame. He's guarded by Jackson Canfield for the Terps. Wolverines passing it around. Looking to expand their lead. We'll go back behind the cage. Terps pick him up on defense, about 40 seconds left on the shot clock. Tight defense being played on Jenkins. He passes it back. Here's Cohen. 25 on the shot clock. Michigan trying to build a lead early in this one. Canfield plays tough defense on Cohen. Cohen looking for a shot on McNaney. They haven't ripped one yet. They got 10 seconds to do it. Good defense being played by Burles. All the way around to Lockwood. Takes one charge of McNaney, fires, and he puts it in the back of the net, and Michigan with an early 2 goals. This time, it's the junior Lockwood off the bench, and Michigan up by a pair in the first.
6th goal of the season for Lockwood. Another just grip and rip situation right there for Michigan, not wasting any time, just going straight to the net, unassisted for Lockwood to put Michigan up 2-0.
Has to feel good for Lockwood. You mentioned his 6th goal of the season. It's his first point in 2 games. And how about this? Unranked Michigan walking into the home of the #1 team in the country and making a statement. Still early as we head back to the center. Keithler and Rideout once again. Maryland just has had one look on offense, but it ended in a turnover, and since then they haven't put the ball on the opposite end of the field yet. But it looks like now they will. They win the faceoff. Here's Keithler.
And the faceoff is going to be such an important aspect of this game. Of course, it always is, but in particular for Maryland, in the last 3 matchups that they've lost against Michigan, it's been the Wolverines winning the faceoff battle. In each of those 3, especially last year, Michigan dominated in that department. So that's certainly going to be an emphasis today for the Terps, and they're going to have to win a couple in a row now that they're down by 2.
Here's Aiden Aitken checking into the game. He dishes it off, and here's going to be a shot on Taylor off the stick of Stobaugh. It goes wide. Terps will keep possession. Still plenty of time on the shot clock. Urksa. Guarded by Whitney. A great defender. This Wolverines team, Urksa, just trying to find an outlet pass. He gets a screen from Daniel Kelly. Little pick and fade. Kelly near the cage. Retreats and hits it back to Urksa. Urksa makes his move on Taylor and scores. 2-1. Braden Urksa says, hold the phone, and the Terps cut the lead in half.
Urksa came into his own last year. He's only gotten better this year in his junior season, right in front of the crease. Able to get the deficit back down to 1 for Maryland.
It's a nice team goal as Whitney was really giving Urksa a hard time on that last play. As you take a look at the replay here, just Kelly back to Urksa, and Urksa just wanders through top right corner, easy as you like. We'll go back to the center. Urksa's 13th goal of the season makes it 2-1. Michigan's gonna claim it off the faceoff.
And there was no hesitation there for Urksa either. As soon as he caught the pass from Kelly, he knew he was going to plant that foot and go. He attacked to the crease and did not miss the shot.
3 goals already in the first 5 minutes and change. Here's John Morgan for the Wolverines. Morgan, a senior, a local product from Grand Rapids. We're going to take on Gravino. Wolverines just trying to keep the Terps at an arm's length away. Just over 9 minutes left in this first quarter. A good start for the Wolverines, but the Terps have fought back. Here's Ryan Cohen. He gets a pick from his teammate. Goes back out, a bit of a high pass, but Morgan able to collect it. Morgan to the far side. Tight defense being played by Larkin. Michigan looking to put that lead back to 2. They're going to take another shot on McNaney, but this time, number 1 makes the save. And the Terps will go the other way.
It's going to be huge for McNaney to just get into a groove. He tends to go on these runs where he looks unstoppable. There was a couple of leaks early for McNaney, but that's a huge first step as Maryland now tries to tie the game.
Along the far side, here come the Terps. This is Urksa. Goes behind him to Bryce Ford. Fairfield transfer to the Binghamton transfer in Keegan. Now Whittier. Terps assembling their attack. Whittier runs in. Keegan to Urksa. Under 30 on the shot clock. Urksa lost it briefly, but reclaimed. Here's Eric Spanos, our first look at him today. Spanos, it's a screen from Kelly. Kelly looking for a shot on Taylor. He doesn't have the angle. The Terps have about 13 seconds on the clock. They take a shot. That's Ford. Saved by Taylor. And the Wolverines stand up to the Terps offense. Maryland can't get the equalizer yet. Good forced turnover by Urksa. And Maryland's running the other way. Into the middle. Shot on goal and a score. Jack McDonald, his first of the season. And Maryland gets the equalizer. Wolverines score 2. Now the Terps score 2. What a way to start conference play.
What a moment right there for McDonald. Perfect representation of defense to offense right there for Maryland. And we'll go right from the turnover here on the replay. Urksa able to cause it initially. Keegan able to scoop it up. And Keegan sees it all the way. Urksa back to McDonald. And McDonald's not going to miss that one from close range. We're tied at 2.
4 goals already in this first quarter. Face-off will go the way of the Wolverines.
It's also just the 3rd career goal for McDonald. He had 1 last year, 1 in 23, and now his first here in 2025.
How will the Wolverines respond? Here's Jenkins. Taking a more of an increased role with this Michigan team. Only 5 appearances last year as a freshman. Now this year he started every game. Here he comes looking for a shot at McNaney. He has to retreat to Cohen. Cohen takes a trying to find the assist, but shot went wide. Michigan will keep possession. They'll have about 45 seconds to work with. Michigan looking for something. Here's Lockwood. Lockwood back to Cohen in the end zone. Schaller on him. Cohen looking for a pass. He finds one right near the cage, but over the goal and out of play. Michigan will have one more crack at it as the shot clock resets.
A great job by McNaney there, cutting the angle, matching stick level, and really forcing not that great of a shot.
Riley into the middle with Cohen. Over to Lockwood. Lockwood sets a screen, but Jenkins has to retreat. Maryland just trying to force a Michigan turnover here. Lockwood fires again, this one over the top of the cage and out of play. Bo Lockwood, a Big Ten player to watch a year ago. Last year, 8 goals. Assists were really his main thing. He had 29 of them, which was 5th in the Big Ten. He's already got a goal today. Talk about assists. Here's Ryan Cohen. He's got the most in the conference so far. And another shot on goal, and this time Michigan gets home. Jack Jenkins on the board, and it's 3-2. He's got goal number 12 on the season.
So it's funny, the two guys that do all the facilitating or most of the facilitating, tag team right there to put Michigan back in front. Again, you're going to see Cohen here driving behind X, whips it back, and Jenkins, the catch and shoot. That's as pretty as he gets right there, Daniel.
Great feed from Cohen. Picks up just another assist. And this Michigan team just picking up right where they left off. Whenever they play the Terps, it's always a good matchup.
These two teams always seem to go back and forth. It always seems to be high scoring. In the Big Ten Tournament Championship 2 years ago, Michigan went on a late run to kind of pull away, and they're continuing to do very well in the faceoff department.
Already won 4 faceoffs. Maryland just has 1. Here's Dixon. Cohen. Here's Aiden Mulholland. Haven't really called his name much in this first quarter, but he's their leading goal scorer. Mulholland to Morgan. Go out to the near side. Riley. Correction, that's Morgan as he'll pass it behind. Michigan trying to get that lead back up to 2. Cohen fakes into the middle, but before a shot could be made, nice job batting it away. I believe that was Canfield. As for the time they thwart Michigan, that was McDonald with a nice play. Under 4.5 to play in this first quarter. Michigan in front by 1. Here's Mulholland. On the far side. Back into the middle with Morgan. Tight defense as just 6 seconds left. Morgan's going to have to make a move quickly. 3 seconds now, and Michigan just dumps it into the end zone. So the Terps, after they concede, they lose the faceoff, but force Michigan into a bad offensive possession and now can go the other way, looking for another equalizer.
And there's that strong Maryland defense again. Here's a nugget for you. They've held opponents to 10 goals or less in every game so far this season. It's been a bit of a rocky first quarter to start, but no doubt they could get back into a rhythm. And like we said a couple minutes ago, this is going to be back and forth all game long. We're expecting it to be close. We're expecting it to be chippy, to be physical, and it's lived up to the hype so far in the first quarter.
Here's the freshman Jack Schultz for Maryland. Schultz gets to the 10-yard line, now retreats. Over to Aiken. Aiken to his right. They work it into the middle. Urksa had an open shot on goal. He couldn't collect it, and Taylor ends up coming up with it. Had to go all the way out of goal. Did the Michigan keeper, but now the Wolverines can go on the opposite end.
Great look there for Maryland, just not able to execute there at the very end. Kind of a low ball into Urksa. Tough reaction just to be able to move the stick down so fast, and then he'd have to fling it sidearm immediately. Just couldn't catch the ball before taking the shot. and it results in Michigan possession.
Here's Brandon Plemons for the Wolverines, the senior, getting in his 7th game of the year. To the far side, Michigan. They want another goal, but this time McNaney says no. Here comes Maryland on the counter. This is George Stamos. Stamos to the far side. Kelly will just wait to set up the attack.
Like this approach by Maryland here, just settling it down, getting numbers, getting your guys back in. Now here comes Keegan with it now. Ford's in there as well. Top line in for Maryland on this possession.
Here is Matthew Keegan. 12 goals on the season. Rim tied for the lead, and he looked for number 13, but he put it wide. Maryland will stay with it. Urksa will go and get the ball. He matches up against Mason Whitney. For that, we're going to get a whistle.
Going to put the shot clock back up at 60.
Gives Maryland a bit more time. McNaney in this game, 3 saves already. That was a big one to just shift the momentum. Maryland looking to equalize it once again, down by 1.
And now each team likely with one more possession before the end of the quarter. Let's see if both or only one team can take advantage.
Whittier to Spanos. Back to Whittier. Whittier. Urksa tries again, but just overshoots it. Maryland will stay with it. 84 seconds in this first quarter. Michigan has gotten outscored by opponents overall 20-16 coming into this game in the first quarter. For Maryland, it's been the opposite. But this time, we're going to get a tie. Daniel Kelly fired up and on the board. It's goal number 13 for the 5th year, and it's 3-3 at the end of this first quarter.
Kelly's been doing this his whole career, and this is just a product of getting a good look, playing fundamental lacrosse. You're going to see Keegan with the spin, very similar to Michigan's last goal as well. Behind X, just that quick flip to Kelly. He shoots sidearm. That's going to go in a majority of the time with 45 taking the shot. And Maryland is able to tie it up, but now Michigan will have the entire remaining minute and 16 if they can win the faceoff to try and respond. Maryland, on the other hand, could do the same thing again if they win this faceoff. They have the entire shot clock to try and get the lead.
Still up for grabs in the middle. Maryland has not been as good as they had hoped on faceoff, and they lose once again. So as you said, Nate, Michigan will have the final say in this first quarter. 3-3, 48 seconds to go. Here's Morgan. To Jenkins. Jenkins back to Morgan. Michigan will take their time. You have to think, even if they don't get the goal here, a productive first quarter for the Wolverines. Just being tied with the #1 team in the country in Maryland. 20 seconds. Stanit. To Cohen. 10 seconds now. Cohen double teamed. Can they get the shot on McNaney? They do, but McNaney saves. He'll just launch it down the field. And that is where the first quarter ends. So 3-3. You knew it was going to be this way. Maryland and Michigan, 2 teams that have fought hard in these last couple of games. But what a first quarter it's been.
I mean, what a first quarter. Both teams with 9 shots. They've both been on target. McNaney's played well in cage for Maryland. It's been back and forth. A lot of offense, some good defense as well. This is shaping up to be an excellent way to start Big Ten play.
We're going to take a break, but stay with us here. We got a good one brewing in College Park. 3-3 at the end of the first quarter.
This Maryland lacrosse program, as good as anybody, won a national championship back in 2017 with the Terps, and he's really just overhauled this Michigan lacrosse program into new heights over the last couple of seasons.
Talk about a guy who's reached new heights. There's John Tillman, his 15th season as a head coach, just one of a group of Maryland coaches that have been really successful recently.
Absolutely. I mean, nobody thought that last year's team would make it all the way to the national championship. Tillman and his staff were able to lead the charge in that postseason run for Maryland, and now they're picking up right where they left off, being the #1 team in the country, 7-0 so far, and looking to finish out the regular season during Big Ten play with that same perfect record that they've started the season with.
The conference opener here, Michigan and Maryland tied at 3 as we move back to the center M. Michigan got out in front of this one early with 2 quick goals, but Maryland has responded. This time Maryland wins the face-off. They wanted a quick goal. They're going to have to wait just a little bit. Here they go on offense again. Here's Whittier. Whittier matching up. Over to Keegan on the near side. Passes the Big Ten logo, runs out of room, and we'll look for an outlet. Wanted a shot on Taylor. We'll get a whistle. This will be Michigan ball as Kelly just fell right near the goal at the doorstep, but Maryland comes up empty on its first possession of the second quarter.
I think he fell into the crease there, wasn't pushed. Now Michigan, a quick break the other way.
Here come the Wolverines. Here's Jenkins. To the far side. They'll go out to Lockwood. Here's Augustine. Got a free run at McNaney and a score for Michigan. The Wolverines reclaim the lead 4-3 as Emmett Houlihan finds the net for his 4th goal of the season.
Some velo on this shot here. Taking it himself, unassisted. Goes with the right hand, goes to the far side of the goal with his 4th goal this season to give Michigan their 4th goal of the game.
It's a senior versus senior matchup as he ran past Jordy Holmes, and this Wolverine team is just showing no fear against the top team in the country. So we return to the dot. Michigan ahead by 1. If you take a look at the face-off, this is something that's really going to drive John Tillman up the wall. 6-2, now 6-3 as Maryland wins the face-off. Having to reach up for it was McDonald, and he couldn't come up cleanly with it. Now he does scoop it up. In unfamiliar territories, McDonald. Still a fight for it as Dixon pushed over a Terp. Maryland will keep it. Spanos out into the middle with Stobaugh.
We've yet to see Spanos get involved, but he's been a second-half player this year. And a lot of big goals from him in the 4th quarter on a lot of these big runs, especially last week for Maryland, that big run to start the 4th quarter, which stifled Virginia's comeback attempt.
Big word that comes to mind when you talk about Eric Spanos' spark plug. Here's Stobaugh. And a one-on-one, he retreats. Here's Spanos. To Aitken, under 20 on the shot clock. Aitken has to retreat, finds the freshman Jack Schultz. Schultz looks for a centering pass. Stobaugh briefly had it, but Michigan scoops it up. That Maryland offense 0 for 2 so far in this second quarter, and Michigan will go the other way.
We had the offensive first quarter. Wonder if here in the second quarter, maybe the defense is both very solid and filled with superstars. I wonder if they have their moment here in the second quarter.
Long pass out to Lockwood. Houlihan gonna take on another Terp. That near side run is how he scored the last Michigan goal. This time, Terp's able to push him away for the moment. Michigan setting up their offense, under 40 on the shot clock. haven't found that centering pass. Here's Jenkins. Michigan just trying to bring that lead up to 2, but this time Maryland able to pick their pocket, and they got a counter brewing. Here come the Terps, leading the way as they move it inside. Kelly couldn't get a clean shot, and Taylor collects and quickly gets it out of his stick. The Maryland offense has gone quiet here in this second quarter.
Well, for Van Wees, for Michigan, closing the angle, creating contact, and forcing that turnover. That's what I'm keeping referring to, this Michigan defense. Tough task for them with a lot of these ranked games this year, but other than that Notre Dame game last week, they've really lived up to the billing.
Here's Aiden Mulholland. This is a guy who's dangerous near the goal. He retreats. Morgan out to Cohen. Tough contact from the Terps, but Michigan staying with it. Mulholland takes a shot, sends it way near the student section, and Michigan will keep control of it. Gives you a perspective of how dangerous Mulholland is if he's going to be throwing it that hard every time. Jenkins finds the goal again. Michigan up 5-3 now, and the sophomore's got his second of the game.
And I don't know how he snuck this one through. Wrapping around the crease, McNaney's playing that near post, but somehow he just finds a sliver of an angle. We'll take another look at it right here. Just gets it right on the inside of McNaney's right shoulder. McNaney had his stick on his left shoulder. There's that little sliver, and it's all that Jenkins needed for his second goal of the day.
For Jack Jenkins, scoring goals has just been something he's been doing for so long. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school. He actually set his high school record for points with 136. And this is a guy who is just part of a really good group of sophomores on this Wolverine team. Here comes the face-off. Who wants it? Looks like Michigan had it for a second. Now Maryland had it, but being double-teamed and getting away with it is Gravino. High pass, but Maryland controls it. They want a quick attack on Taylor. They bounce it, and it goes out of the end zone. No dice for the Terps. They'll keep possession. This Maryland offense just looking for something to get them going. Here's Bryce Ford.
But again, here on this possession, Whittier just comes back in. He's got the ball now. Keegan Ford in there. Three guys that have been huge for this attack.
Spanos ducks under a Michigan defender and puts it in the back of the net. There's the spark plug. Eric Spanos, goal number 13 on the season. Maryland cuts that deficit in half once again.
Little dip and score right there for Seven and White. Wasn't the cleanest possession for Maryland. And Whittier coming in from that substitution finds number 7 right away. There's the dip, creating the angle himself, and that's one-on-one with the keeper. Spanos is going to win that battle 9 times out of 10.
It's career goal number 56 for Eric Spanos, a guy who's about as experienced as it gets. This Maryland front line full of experience. And the Terps narrow that lead back to 1, 5-4. Michigan still ahead. This is going to be Maryland ball off the face-off. Terps looking for the equalizer. What's been a fast first conference game. Keegan to Bryce Ford. Ford works to the far side, dishes to Spanos. Spanos, does he have the hot hand? He'll just dish it to Keegan. Here's Whittier coming into the game. Whittier with some speed, hits to the goal, now stops. About 40 seconds on the shot clock. Terps looking for a pass. Here's Urksa. Urksa spins, runs into trouble. We'll scoop it back up. Under half a minute on the shot clock. Terps looking to knot it up at 5. Whittier fires, blocked, left on the ground for a minute, but scooped up by Michigan. Terps offense can't get goal number 5. Now the Wolverines will look to bring that lead back to 2.
And one trend that we've seen so far, Daniel, is the response for every team. Michigan gets 2 to open, Maryland comes back with 2. Michigan gets the 3rd, Maryland comes back with the 3rd. And then in this second quarter, Michigan opens up with 2, Maryland got the last one. Can Michigan break that trend and finally get back out in front and create another comfortable 2-goal lead for the time being?
Morgan to Mulholland. Mulholland gets a quick screen. Now puts his back to the goal. Morgan. Terps really trying to get that ball out of his stick. Gonna get a whistle here. It's gonna be a timeout. Michigan called it, and they just wanna talk things over here. They're gonna have 30 seconds on the shot clock here, about halfway through this second quarter, but things are just picking up right where they left off. Michigan slightly out in front, but Maryland not too far behind.
Yeah, it's been great so far. This is just awesome lacrosse. Big Ten opener, Michigan and Maryland, a matchup that has been so good over the last couple of seasons. Michigan has run the table in the last 2 years, the last 3 matchups. And so far, Michigan is coming to prove why they belong in the top 20 in the country, why they can make some noise, why they can win the Big Ten. They could win the Big Ten tournament and get back into the NCAA tournament. They're giving Maryland everything they can handle right now, Daniel, and it's been fun to watch.
Maryland and Michigan facing off, first game of conference play. This has been exactly what we expected here. You take a look at the program history. Maryland's been playing varsity lacrosse since Calvin Coolidge was in office, 1924. You talk about Michigan, though. They've had club play since 1940, but I couldn't believe this when I first saw this. 2012, their first varsity season.
Yeah,
incredible.
I think that just speaks to what Coach Connery and his staff have done over the last couple of years for still a relatively new program to Division I lacrosse, as some young fans are certainly enjoying themselves field level here at CQ Stadium. But for Michigan as a program, what they've been able to accomplish over this last decade, but especially in the last half decade, it's been remarkable.
Certainly the fans enjoying the good weather we've had as of late here in College Park. There's another graphic there. You see 900 program wins. Just incredible. I mean, we talked about how this is the 100th season of Maryland men's lacrosse, but just one of 3 programs to have 900 wins. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, for Maryland, they joined Syracuse.
From Tillman and a referee. That's a brief one. Assuming it's going to be Maryland ball here. You see on the screen there, Maryland will be in the man up for a minute.
Looks like they're awarding 2 penalties right there. One on Marlowe for Michigan. Maybe it is just that one on Marlowe.
Jack Marlowe, the offender for the Wolverines, and Maryland an opportunity now in a man-up position. Gonna get another whistle. Kevin Connery has some questions. He's standing at about the 50-yard line, 49-yard line. They started play for a couple seconds, then they stopped.
Wonder if maybe a clock issue or a timing issue, but Marlowe with the penalty, so Maryland is in the man up. You got 52 seconds to try and make something happen. Now the conversation between the head ref and Connery. A little bit of confusion everywhere.
It was ruled as a minor infraction on Jack Marlowe for unnecessary roughness. And now we're back underway. So Maryland, here we go. Can they get the equalizing goal? Here's Dowd to Kelly. Kelly gets it back. He goes back to Dowd. On the far side. All the way across. A long shot and a snipe from Jack Dowd. Striking and throwing his heater. He's got goal number 1 on the season. And Maryland ties things up at 5 from number 55 as the Salisbury transfer, making things happen off the bench.
Long time coming right there for Jack Dowd. This is what he was doing at the Division III level with Salisbury for so many years. What a shot right there for 55. And that ties things up with his first goal as a Terp.
A guy who is no stranger to playing in prime time. He won a D3 national championship. He was an All-American. Had a real good Salisbury program. How about a statement for your first goal? We're tied up at 5. Maryland wins the face-off, going quickly, but they can't get the pass to Urksa on the far side. But the Terps still claim some momentum off that equalizing goal.
It was a great job by Crater on the face-off there. Got the quick win and then just the errant pass to Urksa, but
Urksa, Spanos again! Maryland takes the lead. You talk about the spark plug. Eric Spanos with his second seems like in just the snap of the finger, Eric Spanos turns into Thanos and Maryland leads by 1.
this was a wild sequence right here. Started with the throwaway on the face-off, where then Spanos gets it back, and he is not going to miss that shot. Again, so much time, so much space, and Maryland's out in front.
Eric Spanos is inevitable. His 14th goal of the season. What a turnaround. Just about a minute ago, there was a stoppage in play due to a penalty, and then Maryland gets the goal from Dowd. Then they get the second goal from Spanos, and now the Terps have crawled back into the lead. 6-5 with just over 5 minutes to play in this first half. Michigan will respond. Here's Ryan Cohen. On the 35-yard line, he passes it back. Michigan, usually the second quarter is where they shine. They outscore opponents by 7. But they find themselves in a hole here. Got about 40 seconds on the shot clock. Here's Plemons. In some trouble, he dishes it off. Cohen looking to show some of that senior experience, who's on the Tawartson watch list, but he shot deflected by McNaney and out of bounds. Michigan will reclaim it. 60 seconds on the shot clock now. Jenkins at X. He gets it back. Now into the middle with Cohen. Michigan looking for something right on the doorstep, but they had trouble with the reception, and Maryland takes it back. Strong defense from John Tillman's squad, and Terps will go the other way. They've scored the last 2. Here's Stamos into the middle. Keegan fell down. He took a shot anyway. And a timeout was called by John Tillman. So we'll get a stoppage in play, but still, if you're Maryland, you have to feel pretty good about where you are currently as you take another look.
Yeah, perfectly timed here by Tillman, as just that slip right there for the Terps. Like maybe it was Larkin. But now Maryland's going to have possession back, 3.5 to go in the half. And the Terps on a bit of a mini run right now, Daniel. They've taken all the momentum back.
And now looking at that replay, it makes sense kind of why John Tillman calls that timeout. A.J. Larkin, he's a guy who scored a goal before. He scored in that Syracuse game this season, but not someone you typically see in front of the net like that. So Michigan They're already out of the timeout. They're ready to go. But Maryland has taken the momentum back here. They've really done a lot better on the face-offs. That number currently at Michigan winning slightly, 7-6. But Maryland has gotten better. They were a lot better in the second quarter on the face-off.
But you remember last time we showed you this graphic, it was Michigan 6, Maryland 2. So recently, it's coincided with Maryland winning more face-offs, Maryland taking the lead. It's crazy how that works. It's worked the last 3 times these two teams have matched up, with Michigan winning the face-off battle, and they've won all 3. Maryland right now getting there. They're getting much better. Crater's got 3 wins. Keithler with 1. Carrier's got 2 as well. But that 3-man rotation right now for the Terps, trying to replace Luke Weirman. Very hard to replace Weirman, but Maryland's done a very solid job this year of getting production from those 3 guys, and obviously that 7-0 record speaks to that.
As a Maryland team that last year in 2024, they weren't as good in 2023, and in 2024, they got into the NCAA tournament, and people thought, well, we'll see how far John Tillman can lead them, and they only got to the national championship, right? And they ran into a Notre Dame team that was dominant all season long. But then they got their revenge on them. They beat them at the neutral site down in Atlanta, and they have just swept through non-conference play so far. But conference play, especially in the Big Ten, can be a beast of its own, and so far Michigan proving to be a tough opponent. Out of the timeout here, both teams set up. They'll be on the Michigan side as Eric Spanos starts with it with 61 on the shot clock. Spanos matches up against Billings. Here's Urksa. Urksa works around the goal. Can't find a clean look. Here's Ford. Ford takes a lap around the goal and sends it out. Keegan works into the middle, runs into a double team, gets knocked to the ground. Urksa's got to race into the end zone to keep this one, and it just goes past the line. So Maryland out of the timeout, can't make much of their offensive possession. Now Michigan will work the other way with under 3 minutes to go in this second quarter. Here's Stannett. Over to Jenkins. Just onto the field. Jenkins, he's been a thorn in the Terps' side today. Mulholland works into the middle. Tough defense played on Gorno. Cohen passes back. Michigan, a methodical attack this time. Mulholland gets bumped, has to retreat. Good defense there from Schaller. Under 30 on the shot clock. The Wolverines trying to bring things level once again. Gorno playing tight defense. Here's Cohen. Can have a bit more momentum on the charge. He finds an open man, but a good save by McNaney denies Michigan from the equalizer. Shot clock paused at 12. Michigan will keep it. They're going to have limited time here. Maryland just trying to stand tall for just a couple of seconds as Michigan able to finagle that one into the goal and tie it up at 6 right at the end of their shot clock. Lucas Stannett on the board again. And what an opener we have brewing here in College Park.
Stannett had the first goal of the day. He's got the 12th goal of the game as well. Close range right here for Stannett. That's as good as it's going to get. The contact, the truck, the hit stick, if you will, and then the bounce past McNaney.
Great job by the Princeton transfer, the graduate student, just absorbing the contact, bouncing it past Logan McNaney. To the dot we go. Things all tied up at 6 here with 90 seconds. Which team will take the momentum into the tunnels? Fight for it on the face-off. Maryland able to win it. Here's Gravino. Looks for an outlet pass. He finds one with Stobaugh. Gravino checks out. Stobaugh to Jack Schultz. Now a minute on the clock. Here's Stobaugh again. Aitken back to Stobaugh. Back to Schultz. Schultz puts a spin on his defender, approaches the goal, now chooses to run around. Schultz still with it. Goes out. Aitken to Stobaugh. 30 seconds on the shot clock for the Terps. Stobaugh running into a double team. Outlet pass, shot on the way, and a goal. Daniel Kelly with the sidearm slinger gives the Terps the lead once again as it just continues to go back and forth. Kelly's got his second of the game.
And he goes low this time. He didn't exactly skip it, but he's able to get it underneath the legs of Taylor. Here's again Stobaugh with the reverse pivot and the pass to the right side. And Kelly, he knows exactly where to put it. He's gone near post, far posts. This time he goes between the legs to put Maryland back up 7-6.
So Kelly goes through the wickets. He's a guy who didn't score in his last 2 games, but he's already got 2 here in the first half. And the local product went to Calvert Hall High School. Makes Maryland, puts them in front once again. 7-6, ball goes out of bounds. Maryland's gonna have 21 seconds to work with here. One final attack maybe for the #1 team in the country. Gonna get a timeout before that happens. John Tillman will talk to his team. They'll have 15 seconds to work with on the other side. We will step aside for a second and come back for the end of the second half. Don't go anywhere. We got a great one here in CQ. 7-6, Maryland leads on big
Goal moment, but Michigan, they've been just as good in terms of finding ways to score, finding ways to create turnovers, and finding ways to win faceoffs.
It's a testament to both of these coaching staffs, because on the Maryland side, it's, hey, let's try not to lose our confidence, even though we're the #1 team in the country and we're facing some adversity here. And on the other side with Michigan, it's, hey, try not to lose your cool going up against the best team in the country. Just play your game and know that, you know, we've got these guys the last couple of games. So we're underway here in the second half. Michigan will start with it. Logan McNaney still in goal for the Terps. He's had 4 saves so far. Here's Lucas Stannett. It's a free run to the 30 and now stops. Dishes it off. Here's Mulholland. Takes on Kohler. Kicks it back out to Morgan. Morgan to Jenkins. Opening possession here of this second half. Mulholland finds Ryan Cohen. An assist today, continues the streak, and he's got a goal here. 7-all, Ryan Cohen, goal number 100 in his Michigan career. I was about to say he's got a point in every game in his Michigan career, and now he's got a goal to go along with his assist.
Epic milestone right there for Cohen. Big congratulations to him. And he does it unassisted. He does it from far range, zipping it past McNaney and wasting no time coming out of the locker room to tying this game at 7.
Good enough for his 10th goal of the year. He's a guy who, Big Ten Player of the Watch, a preseason All-American, just the accolades keep on coming. You knew at some point Cohen was going to make his mark on the game, and he has started off the Wolverines well. 7-all, Maryland takes the face-off. It's going to be a close one, folks. Terps' first look at them on offense today. In the second half, I should say. They got to get it out of their own backyard here. Here's Burles. Long pass downfield. He finds an open Larkin. Larkin dishes. Now the Terps can set up their offense. Here's Eric Spanos. A couple goals for him in the first half. Out to Keegan. Here's Whittier just checking in. Three of the Terps' most senior players. Whittier. Forward to Urksa. Over to Spanos. 30 seconds on the shot clock. Spanos gets the screen from Kelly. He spins away from it. Can't find a good look on Taylor. Terps really got to get something here. 20 seconds to work with. Kelly works to his right side, takes a shot on Taylor, saves it. Terps able to reset offensively after scooping up the ground ball. Whittier runs around. A missed pass initially, but scooped up by Keegan. Now Keegan takes the shot, saved by Taylor. Still up for grabs, though. It's a delayed offensive possession for the Terps. Who's going to come up with it cleanly? Nobody can. Kelly had it for a minute. Now Taylor finally puts his stick on it, and it's a chaotic sequence here that ends goalless for Maryland.
It's like a pinball machine. I mean, it was just going every which way, off of one stick, off another stick. Nobody could quite scoop up the ground ball until it winds up under the stick of Taylor. Now Michigan, the response attempt right here as they try to take a lead back for the first time since about 5-minute mark in the second quarter.
Here's Morgan, he goes back. Michigan scored the first goal of the second half, and they score the second goal of the second half as well. It's Aiden Mulholland finding the net, and Michigan builds the lead up to 2. 8-7 is a 1-goal lead as they reclaim it. Mulholland, the leading goal scorer for the Wolverines, notches his 14th.
Again, just pedal to the metal from about 15 yards away with some high velocity. When you find a corner, it's really tough to save if you're McNaney, and Mulholland continues to be a part of that big four for Michigan in terms of goal scorers that have all contributed so far today.
Faceoff hasn't been won by anyone yet. Now the Terps able to stay on it. That was Larkin, got it away after being hit. A lot of substitutions happening, but the Terps will have it on offense. Here's Spanos. No team has built a lead, really. More than 2 in this one. Elijah Stobaugh checking in. The sophomore out of Bradenton, Florida. Here's Aiden Aitken, a fellow Floridian. Aitken weaving. Finds Stobaugh. Over to Schultz. Schultz navigating out to Spanos. Spanos back to Schultz. Schultz in a one-on-one. Locked up, takes a shot anyway, and it goes over the goal. Maryland will sustain the possession. They got about 28 seconds. Urksa puts a spin move on a Wolverine. Dumps it out into the crease, and a goal. Was it in the crease? Flag goes up. For the moment, Maryland scores, but we will check to see, and now the refs indicate a goal and an equalizer once again for Maryland. 8-8, this game just goes back and forth. Eric Spanos still waiting near the crease to confirm that it was him. It was Daniel Kelly who put it in.
So if it stands as Kelly with a hat trick, and that looked to me like he was pushed in to the crease, and that would be for Michigan, Justin Ennis that pushed him in. That looks pretty clear to me as to what happened. It would be the equalizer, and it would be Kelly's 3rd goal of the day.
Yeah, I agree. It does look like he was pushed into the crease. But boy, it just felt like Maryland really needed that after Michigan came out of the tunnels and scored the first 2 goals of the half. Daniel Kelly, it would be his 3rd goal of the day. Puts him at 15 on the year. officially ruled a Maryland goal.
Here's another look from our camera here at the roof of the stadium. Some contact there between Ennis and Kelly, straight from behind. You see the flag hit the ground right there. Just waiting to see the official review go through. But this is that nature of the back and forth we've been talking about, right, Daniel? I mean, Michigan gets those first two to start the half, and then Maryland right there with a huge response if it were to stand. And it just seems like it's going to be whoever has possession in the last few minutes of this game, with the way it's tracked so far, that is going to be the one to have the chance for the game winner. I mean, this game right now is screaming overtime. I know we have still 26 minutes to play, but these two teams just continuously matching one another. And this is what Big Ten lacrosse is all about. These tight battles, two teams that, even though Michigan isn't ranked, they'll probably be in the conversation at some point soon. Maryland, the top team in the country for the moment. But this is college lacrosse at its finest. This is what Big Ten lacrosse is about. And it's just a physical game.
So they rule it a goal. 8-8, we're tied up. Kelly, like you said, Nate, gets the hat trick. Take a look at the replay once more.
So it's that right foot, you saw it right there for Kelly, that was right behind the purple. And that's what constitutes him being outside of the crease. And then if he were to have stepped in with the left and then shot it, of course, that would have been a different story. But he gets pushed in by Ennis, really shoved in from behind. He falls into the, the crease on goal mouth, but it doesn't matter. Maryland ties it up at 8.
And to your previous point, Nate, you talked about whether Michigan will find itself in the rankings. Well, certainly if they beat the #1 team in the country, they should. But it frankly doesn't matter, because almost every team in the Big Ten is a ranked team. And you just look at Michigan's upcoming schedule. After this, you get number 11 Johns Hopkins. Then you get number 2 Penn State. I mean, everybody in this Big Ten conference is a competitive team. And this is just the life of a men's lacrosse team in the Big Ten. Maryland wins the face-off. They'll build their offense.
That face-off number is just completely flipped here for Maryland. 11-8 now in favor of the Terps.
They gotta get it out of their own end, and they find Kelly, who tries to keep it in bounds, which he can't. Michigan has done kind of a sneaky good job of keeping Maryland on their toes. After they win the face-off, they're really giving them a hard time. So now Michigan will get it back on offense. Here's Stannett rolling with it across the 20-yard line. Finds Jenkins. Here's Mulholland. Cohen. Morgan sets a screen for him. Goes the opposite way. Cohen fires. Bounces to the left of the cage. Under 10 minutes to play in this third quarter. Already 3 goals so far in the first couple of minutes. Here's Morgan. Morgan. Michigan switches sides offensively. Got a matchup here against Kohler. Stannett. Out to Cohen. Cohen harassed, but he's able to get it away. 12 seconds on the shot clock. Michigan, can they beat the buzzer? Stannett. Kohler plays tight defense. They got 4 seconds. They fire on McNaney. It tipped initially, but McNaney able to stick it and collect the save. Terps able to stand up to the Wolverines. And for the moment, they'll get it out of their own territory. Here's Bryce Ford, sprinting into the attacking third. Ford walks it back to Jack Schultz, freshman, a top 100 recruit in the class of 2024, number 68 in the country. Schultz Works backwards. Ford to Keegan. Keegan against the long pole. He passes back into the middle with Ford. Schultz on the far side works into the middle. Schultz takes a shot off the cage and out of bounds. So we'll stay with Maryland. Jack Schultz has already got 5 goals on the season. He was looking for number 6. I saw the replay there. Narrow miss. Here he comes again. Into the middle. Keegan thought about it. Passes to his right with Ford. Ford gets a screen to Kelly. Plenty of time for the Terps. About 40 seconds. Schultz, nice move to get past his defender. He tripped as he took the shot, and it goes out of bounds. Maryland keeps it yet again.
Schultz has been so close on each of these last 2 shot attempts.
Urksa. Kelly is back to the goal. Turns around, double team Urksa, close to the goal. In the middle, he had Ford at the doorstep, but he overshot him. Now Keegan. Under 20 seconds to go. Kelly spins around, takes the shot, goes off of Taylor, and Michigan scoops it up. That's Pace Billings, the preseason All-American.
That'll be a possession that Maryland might want to have back. Ford was right there in front of the crease, center cut. Just couldn't get that pass. That was going to be a surefire goal to give Maryland the 9-8 lead, but now Michigan a chance to get that 9-8 lead themselves.
Here's Houlihan. Takes on Gravino. Has to retreat, goes to Cohen. Tied at 8, 40 seconds on the shot clock for Michigan. Jack Jenkins. Puts a move on Burlace. Lockwood against Gorno.
That defense by Schaller. He's closing in, using the check, causing the deflection. He's having a quiet, good day.
Single digits on the shot clock. Michigan takes a shot. It beat McNaney, but it went wide. And this goes out of bounds. Maryland ball. They're able to keep the Wolverines out of the goal once again. This thing slowed down a bit here in this third quarter. What has been a great start to conference play. Terps just joining us, #1 in the country against a stout Michigan team that has given them trouble the last 3 games. Here's Larkin. To the far side with Schultz, who gives it to Urksa. Here's Aiden Aitken, guy who's had his name called more recently. Aitken went to the ground as he put a spin on his defender. Here's Stobaugh. Terps taking their time offensively. Stobaugh turns on the Jets, takes a shot right into the stick of Taylor. Counter-attack time for Michigan. Just over 5 minutes to play here in this third quarter. A great finish here, upcoming. Cohen to the far side. Here's Jenkins. Morgan to Stanett. Stanett works through one defender. Now goes to the far side and gets it back. Morgan. Cohen gets a screen, finds it in the middle. A shot on McNaney and a goal. Michigan claims the lead back. 9-8 as Nick Rude, we talked about him in the open, makes his appearance, and in no better time for the Wolverines to grab the lead.
Of course, now the big concern is Rude. Let's take a look here at the excellent goal. The dodge goes straight, and then Schaller with the contact. Looks like he might have just gotten the wind knocked out of him maybe with that contact at the center chest. Doesn't look to be limping or anything. That's a good sign, and he's going to stay in there. That's a true warrior right there. It's been a while to get him involved in this today, as now he starts to make his way over towards the sideline. But for Ruud, he's got his first of the day, his 13th of the season. Another assist by Cohen. That's his 20th of the year. And even though he got popped by Schaller, he's able to give the Wolverines the lead back.
Nick Ruud, a guy who's just been on fire these most recent couple of games. That is a big time to score your first goal of the game.
And we talked about it in the open of the broadcast, but 9 goals in the last 3 games. He had 2 hat tricks in that span, and now he's able to get his 10th goal in the last 4 games as Michigan wins another faceoff.
9-8, the Wolverines lead, trying to slay the giant here in Maryland. Here's Morgan. Morgan, a guy who didn't start off starting this season, but he's worked his way into the lineup. Here's Stanett, little hop step. Gets the step on Gravino, bounces it, but it goes out of bounds. So we'll stay with the Wolverines. Under 4 minutes left in this third quarter. And Michigan with the lead and looking for more. Cohen, parallel to the goal. Looks for something on McNaney. He gets it as he dives. That's what people on the Tewaaraton watch list do. And Ryan Cohen has his 2nd goal of the game. And the Wolverines, the first to double digits in this one, 10-8. They lead over Maryland.
I'll tell you what, Daniel, this is a relentless group. Even though they're trailing at the half, put together an amazing third quarter here. Cohen with the quick feet and somehow shoots it from his feet, swings it into the back of the net. And the Wolverines, they've only led by a maximum of 2, but they are continuing to put the pressure on Maryland to respond as Cohen gets his 2nd of the day.
11th goal on the season for Ryan Cohen. Michigan's going to win the faceoff yet again. This has really been an area where Maryland usually makes their presence felt, but today I think it's contributed to their little bit lack of offense. They just haven't really been able to get the ball as much as they'd like. It's a Maryland team that also, they score the least amount of goals in the Big Ten. Of course, they haven't played as many games as everybody else, but it's a team that they're clinical with the few shots that they do take. They don't often find themselves in deficits like this. Here's Mulholland. Stood up around the 25. Mulholland dishes it off. Cohen. Driving on the right side. He's gonna look for an outlet, and they'll find one.
It's funny that you mentioned that with Maryland, Daniel, because they've only scored in single digits 1 time this year, and that was that overtime win at Loyola in week 2.
Cohen to Stanett, but gets his pocket picked. Nice work by George Stamos. And Maryland will work their offense into Michigan territory. Stamos to Urksa. Urksa sails it. Whose ball is it? It's Michigan's ball. That is a stinging opportunity that the Terps could not convert on. Michigan will take it back.
Again, it's been very limited with the turnovers. 1 for each team right there. Michigan with 8 now, Maryland with 8, Michigan with 9. But that's a situation for Maryland right there, down by 2. You think that would be an opportunity where you want to capitalize, but they're unable to get that clean passing.
Michigan, can they put their team up by 3 against number 1 Maryland? Near the goal, this is Houlihan. Drops it off. Cohen gets it back. 90 seconds left in this third quarter. Another shot on McNaney, this one saved. Maryland can go the other way, just trying to stay in this one. It's been their first conference game of the season, but this is a battle-tested Maryland team. They've not only beat every ranked team they've played, they've beat everyone they've played. But Michigan is really giving him a hard time today.
Yeah, Maryland wants to continue to be in this game when Michigan gets those shots off, and that's inevitable at this point in the game. McNaney's going to have to continue to step up. He's only had the 6 saves today, 10 goals allowed, 37.5 save percentage. That's going to have to improve if Maryland's going to want to come back in the fourth quarter.
Here's Jack Schultz. Maryland's got the clock on their side. They can basically take this down to about 7 seconds left. They got 30 seconds on the shot clock. Jack Schultz just holding it around the 45-yard line. Schultz makes his move. Hits Urksa. Urksa back to Schultz. 15 seconds. Schultz in a one-on-one. The freshman looking to get by, runs out of room. Terps got to do something. Ford slips, falls down, and Michigan will take possession back with 5 seconds. As the third quarter comes to an end, the horn sounds, and Michigan fired up. They're on the doorstep of a massive victory here, but we still got another quarter to play. But the Wolverines have been making a statement all day, and the Terps are really going to have to find some momentum in the final frame.
It's been everybody for Michigan, a little bit of everything. Rude gets involved despite the contact. Cohen has been doing it all day.
Underway between Maryland and Michigan, and you take a look there. Look at that graphic. Just Maryland defense has been unbelievable at home this season.
Yeah, 7 goals allowed to Richmond and Syracuse each, and Richmond went on a pretty late run there in the fourth quarter to make that game closer than it actually was. And then a couple weeks ago against Delaware, Maryland throttled the Blue Hens 14-3. So this being the 4th home game of the season for the Terps, this is their biggest test defending their home turf this year, and Michigan has been living up to the test and truly dominated that third quarter.
Michigan able to come away with it briefly. This will be Maryland ball after the infraction. So a good start for the Terps off of the face-off as they look to climb back into this one down by 2. Maryland offense just went quiet in the third quarter, only 1 goal for them. Here's Aiden Aitken. Now Stobaugh. Now Schultz. Schultz to Aitken. Aitken. Terps have plenty of time. Let's see what they do on their first look in the fourth quarter. Ford, shot blocked by Taylor. Scooped up by Schultz. Might have went off the pole actually, as another shot deflected, and this time Michigan will come away with it.
And that's just an unlucky break for Maryland right there. Ford had a great look. He's waiting to get his first point of the day. And of course that hits right off of the pole. And Michigan in a fast break now. This is an opportunity for the Wolverines to not necessarily pull away, but to create that separation. Like I mentioned at the tail end of the third quarter, the largest lead for the Wolverines today has been 2 goals. Maryland has responded every time. Getting that 3-goal lead would put Maryland in a really tough position.
Here's Mulholland. Scored back in the third quarter. Finds a pass. Michigan will just reset offensively. They got 30 seconds to work with. Open shot, saved by McNaney. Ball goes high up in the air, and Michigan able to scoop it back up, and they'll have 60 seconds left. That was a clean look on the goalie, but nice save there from the All-American. Now we're going to get a pause and play. Adjusting a Michigan player's helmet. It's John Morgan. Used to putting on helmets. His father played football at UMich. He has it here. Morgan Passes it off. Michigan looking for that elusive 3-goal lead. Mulholland has to go back to Stannett. Final 20 seconds of the shot clock. Cohen spins, runs into Kohler, puts a tough check on him. Now Mulholland has a tough time with it, and Maryland scoops it up. Here comes Jack McDonald on the opposite side. McDonald with a Wolverine behind him. He just stays with it, passes it back. Here's Schaller. Schaller dishes it off to Ford, and Maryland can set their offense. Crowd here at CQ was relieved to see that Michigan couldn't come up with the goal. Whittier works towards the cage. Back at X. Spanos runs into his own man. Wants to take the shot, but he won't do it. Spanos to the inside, shot on goal, and Maryland narrows the lead again. There's Bryce Ford. He had one go off the pole last time, and this one he puts in the back of the net, and the grad student scores to make it 10-9.
Yeah, Maryland fans have been waiting to see this guy get going today. Kind of a slow developing possession right there for Maryland, and through 3 defenders, Ford is able to find that angle, gets it past all 3 of them. You saw that 1, 2, 3, that 3 ending with Taylor. And that is a massive, massive possession and goal for Maryland, because Michigan's been right there and nearly getting that 3-goal lead. Maryland, yet again, time after time in this game, has been able to respond. And now, if they win the faceoff, they'll have a chance to tie it.
Ford, the Fairfield transfer, he was the 2-time All-CAA mention. Maryland wins the faceoff quickly. They're looking for a quick goal to tie it, but Taylor stands up and saves. But this crowd's still getting into it now. Terps just down by 1. Michigan, how will they respond? 11 minutes to go in this one.
Have to look at, even though Carrier couldn't get the Fogo goal there, for him today, he's won 6 faceoffs in his 8 taken. He's been that main guy. Both Crater and Keithler have done well as well, but Carrier's the hot hand right now that the Maryland staff is stuck with, and he's helped keep Maryland in this game late.
Michigan looking for a goal to put them back up by 2. Here's Jenkins. Mentioned Carrier, the freshman. He's done a great job in this game so far. Now it's Maryland's time to defend. Houlihan to the far side. Shot, McNaney saves, and here he comes out of the goal. This is what he loves to do, that kind of sweeper-keeper role. He just tosses it to Ford. And they're gonna rule Michigan ball here. Not exactly sure what happened there. It looked like Maryland was going to have a key attack. And that is a tough break for the Wolverines.
Looked like maybe too many guys were over for Maryland.
Maybe an offsides penalty. So Michigan takes it back. Maryland's going to have to play stiff defense again. For Michigan, another chance at expanding the lead. Here's Mulholland. Larkin meets him. Out to Stannett. Stannett. Lost the ball. Maryland recovers. And this time the Terps can go on the attack. Up for grabs and still up for it. Oh boy, this is going to be Maryland ball, but Michigan just on the ride has done a really nice job of making Maryland's life uncomfortable. So here come the Terps. At the 40 stands Bryce Ford. Sends it back to Matthew Keegan. Gets a screen. Urksa into the middle. Ford ties the game at 10. Maryland swings back into a tie game. Bryce Ford had an open look. Boy, what a game we have brewing here at CQ. He's scored the last 2 goals, and the Fairfield transfer brings things level once again.
This is what happens when you have good ball movement and you've got veterans leading the way. Urksa able to find a bit of a younger guy in Schultz, the freshman, but he finds the veteran. He was leaning over, tried to get that deflection, just scoop it in right away, but he just kind of fell over a little bit, lost his stability. His center of gravity took him into the crease and gives Michigan possession.
Here's the Wolverines on the other end. Brandon Plemons with it. He dishes off to Jenkins. Jenkins. Been tough to handle in this game for the Terps. About 7 minutes to go. Number 1 Maryland trying to hold off the Wolverines at home. Lockwood. Still looking for a pass. He finds one. Plemons gets a screen. Which Wolverine will take the shot? Lockwood, right in front of the crease, getting harassed by Stamos. Into the middle, nobody home for the Wolverines. Maryland briefly had it, now it'll roll all the way to the 50-yard line. Nice job by Schaller, able to pop it up, and we're gonna get a whistle. John Tillman didn't exactly seem to know what was going on, but Maryland has it offensively. They fire, and I thought it went in, but it goes off the side netting. I think that might have been Bryce Ford again. Now the Wolverines will take it, a wild sequence.
Yeah, what just happened?
Here's Michigan on the opposite end. Here's Ryan Linclip. Wolverines got a substitute, now they do. Stannett has it. It was a great play on the opposite end by Will Schaller approaching the 50-yard line. He just popped it up over a Michigan player and got it into the stick of another teammate. But the shot couldn't convert. Now it's Michigan's turn, goes off the crossbar. And Maryland takes it the other way. Here comes Jack McDonald to Ford, who's at the hot hand. He goes to his left. Kohler to Urksa. Urksa speeds inside of the 25. Now we'll just slow down. A big possession here for the Terps with just over 5 minutes to go. Trying to take their first lead since the start of the second half.
And the clock can be both your friend and your enemy at this point in the game, especially since it's tied. Maryland wants to take its time, but then if you don't get the goal and Michigan responds and vice versa, that gives you less time to respond. So let's see how they manage the shot clock with 35.
Whittier. Now it's Aitken. Aitken. Behind the goal is Bryce Ford. 25 on the shot clock. Ford, he's at the hot hand. He goes across. Spanos almost letting it go out of bounds. Keegan, even with the goal, trying to get across to Hunter, and it looked like Keegan got in the crease. This will be Michigan ball. Michigan defense standing strong here against a Maryland team that scored the last 2. Under 4:30 to play. A barn burner here at CQ, 10-all. Michigan will form for attack. Here's John Morgan. Stannett goes up against Gorno. To Mulholland. 40 seconds on the shot clock. Stannett's going to set a screen. Michigan looking for the shot on McNaney. They'd go all the way over the top of the goal to Mulholland. Mulholland drives near side, takes a shot. McNaney saves, and Maryland has it. Thomas Gravino came up with it. Gave it back to McNaney, and the Terps can take a deep breath for now. They got to get it across the 50 first. McNaney out of his goal. And they can't get it across in time. The ride, again, for Michigan has just been really solid in this fourth quarter especially. Just over 3 minutes to play.
Yeah, it's one of those miscues that could ultimately cost you down the stretch in such a tight game. No room for error on either side.
Houlihan goes back to Jenkins. Just onto the floor. Jenkins runs into Gravino. Quick pass from Lockwood. Houlihan straight up against Gorno. Runs out of room, runs into a double team. Under 50 on the shot clock. Jenkins. Inside, shot on McNaney. It was off the right pole, out, and Maryland will take possession.
Now time is really of the essence. 2.5 to go. Half of it, over half of it, could be taken up on this possession for Maryland if they choose to wind down the whole clock. Could see a potential timeout on either side. Right now, Maryland with possession, of course. Tillman has all the power.
Schultz wields it with a minute on the shot clock. Here's Keegan. 2:06 on the game clock. Number 1 Maryland trying to stay at the top. Stobaugh to Schultz. Back at the 5-yard line. There's Ford. Keegan ready for the screen. Ford goes the opposite way. Ford runs in, runs out of room. Urksa works the far side. Schultz thought about it. Now to Stobaugh. But Stobaugh loses it with 90 seconds left. Michigan's running the counter. This is Billings on the opposite end. One of the long poles. He's got to get out. Now he moves back. And we're going to get a timeout. So Michigan is going to have 72 seconds on the shot clock and 1:22 on the game clock, but a chance to take the lead.
And you got to think the strategy here for Michigan, the clock is their best friend in this situation right here. They have 72 seconds to find something. They can hold the ball. You know, Maryland's going to be tight on the defensive side to try and cause a turnover and get the ball back with some time left to actually do something. But with that only 10 seconds differing the shot and game clock, this could come down to this possession. Can Michigan get a shot off and take the lead, or will Maryland get a stop, get the ball back? They would have 10 seconds if they're able to force a bad shot at the end of the shot clock. And keep in mind, Michigan has not scored in this fourth quarter. Maryland's defense has been stellar in this fourth frame. A lot of caused turnovers. They've been able to scoop up some ground balls. They've had a couple of untimely turnovers as well, but this game has been back and forth ever since the opening face-off. When Michigan got the first goal, Maryland's responded time and time again. Man, I can't wait to see how these final 82 seconds go.
I can't either. We got a 10-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. Michigan will have the ball. And Maryland, you saw the bug earlier. Maryland with slightly more shots than Michigan so far in this game. 35 for the Terps, 31 for the Wolverines. Maryland actually got outshot by UVA in the last game. They still ended up winning. But again, the Terps have been clinical all season long, but now it's Michigan's turn to do the same here as both teams to the timeout. A crucial 82 seconds. 82 seconds from Maryland staying at number 1, Michigan knocking off a giant, or overtime. It will be Michigan ball on the Maryland side. Lucas Stannett has it. Right at the 24-yard line. He stands with it. And here we go. Michigan with the ball. Here's Mulholland. They're just going to hold it. As you said, Nate, the clock is their friend. Mulholland will hold. Michigan chasing their first win against a ranked team since May of last year at Johns Hopkins. 46 seconds left on the clock. 30 on the shot clock. Michigan looking for a late goal. All tied up at 10. Mulholland says, here we go. Here's Morgan. Jogs across the 35. Here comes Ryan Cohen. Cohen matches up. Cohen into the middle. Shot on McNaney goes wide. It's going to stay with Michigan. 15 seconds left. They got 5 seconds left on the shot clock. They're going to have to make their move quickly, but we're going to get a timeout before that happens. So Michigan ends up holding for much of their allotted time, and they're going to have just a little bit left, 4 seconds.
And it was a good look, but how about Will Schaller? He's been making defensive gems all season long. 27 in white for Maryland. And right there, he doesn't do all too much other than just put the stick in front of the attacker's face for Michigan with that shot. It was Stannett, who's had a couple of goals already today, was looking to get the game winner there. But that deflection by Schaller might have saved the game for Maryland, and now Michigan's only has 4 seconds. Maybe they consider dropping it in the corner and making Maryland with only 10 seconds go down. But if Michigan's able to get a shot, it's going to have to be quick. They're going to have to do some sort of misdirection. And it's probably going to be either Stannett or one of those top guys, and Jenkins or Cohen that we've seen already have multiple goals each today.
Yeah, it's going to be basically the lacrosse equivalent of an inbound play, right? They don't have much time. They have 4 seconds on the shot clock. But you're right, they could just dump it into the corner, but given how this game has gone, it almost feels like it's going to be the team who's most aggressive is the team that comes out on top. As the Terps start to walk out of the timeout, Michigan doing the same. Maryland, of course, hasn't lost any game on going back to the national championship game against Notre Dame. Both teams, their last loss to Notre Dame. Michigan just coming back from a brutal loss. Gave up 19 goals, but they've held the Terps to just 10 through almost 4 quarters.
So now with that timeout by Tillman, they go back to 15 seconds and 5 seconds on the shot clock. So that gives Michigan a little bit extra of a window here. Plenty of time to throw it in and get one shot off.
It'll be Ryan Cohen with it, the senior. 5 seconds to make the move. Cohen, one-on-one. He's going to have to put something on McNaney. He can't get the shot off. Now he does. McNaney saves. Does Maryland have some magic in them? They're going to roll it up. They have about 5 seconds left, and it goes left of the stick of Jack McDonald, and the horn sounds. It was only fitting. We have extra lacrosse here in the Big Ten opener. We're going to overtime, tied up at 10. Well, folks, this has been a game that has just been back-to-back all the way through, and 4 quarters wasn't enough to decide. 10-10. Maryland will have almost the entire shot clock. They'll work against the Michigan goalie, Hunter Taylor. As we mentioned earlier, a homecoming for him, originally from Rockville, about 15-20 minutes from here. So Maryland looking for goal number 11 and the winning goal. Jack Schultz, the freshman, starts with it. He passes to Spanos. Spanos looks for a pass. Finds Schultz. Schultz in a one-on-one. Who will take the elusive shot for the Terps? Schultz works the near side. Long pass over, Urksa. Here's Whittier. Whittier, back to Keegan. Schultz works down, fires a shot, deflected out. It's kept in the Michigan side by Schaller, and Keegan comes up with it. Terps have 30 seconds to use. Here's Urksa. He spins, now finds Zach Whittier. Whittier to Bryce Ford. Had a great fourth quarter. What will he do here? Ford puts two hands on the stick, loses it, and it goes into the stick of Taylor. Michigan able to repel the Terps on their first attack. And now the Wolverines with a chance to win it. Here comes Morgan. With 2:30 to go in OT. There's your timeout by Kevin Conry. Now it's the Wolverines' turn to have the final say. But boy, that was just great defense by Michigan. Maryland really never had a clean look. The look that they did get, didn't come out of the stick as hard as Ford wanted it.
Well, it was never really a shot. It was Van Wees who was just going toe-to-toe with Ford, and then Ford just kind of lost it.
Here we go. Here's Morgan. Stanit falls down, ball on the ground. Stanit able to scoop it up. He gets it knocked out by Schaller. Still a fight for it that Maryland comes up with. Will Schaller makes another play. But the Terps, this has been a challenge for them today. Can they get it onto the Michigan side? They can. Stamos. Maryland will slow down, allow themselves to substitute, but wow, great defense.
Will Schaller, the unsung hero of the season so far for Maryland. He's just stepping up in every role late in this game. He had that deflection on that last shot attempt by Michigan at the end of regulation, was able to scoop it back past midfield on that last Maryland possession, and right there causes the turnover and picks up the ground ball.
Stobaugh. He's got about 30 seconds on the shot clock. We'll take the one-on-one. Stobaugh gets near the goal, passes it out. Spanos puts his back to Taylor, sends it to Schultz. Under 20, Schultz takes the shot, wide. Still Maryland ball. They're gonna have 16 seconds with a minute left in overtime. They got the big cause turnover off Michigan. Can they make up for it here? Spanos dishes it. Keegan takes the shot, it goes wide. Maryland will keep it. They're gonna have 7 seconds on the shot clock. 49 seconds on the game clock. Crunch time here for both teams. Spanos works across, gets checked. Looks for a centering pass. Spanos is gonna have to get something done. He takes a shot, it goes right into the stick of Taylor. Now the Terps got to retreat as Michigan will mount the final attack of the first overtime.
And in overtime, it's defense that reigns supreme. So far, Michigan has done a tremendous job of closing shooting lanes, being tight with their coverage, and Maryland's done the same.
Michigan having some trouble. Maryland really doing a good job getting to them, and they come up with it. This is Jackson Canfield with it on the opposite side. Canfield to Keegan. They got 10 seconds to score. Ball still on the ground. Stamos lets it go. Clock stops at 6 seconds. And we'll keep playing. Both teams will make substitutions. We're going to have another stop and play There's 6 seconds on the game clock. That's all that matters. Now they switch it to 5 as we'll get a conversation between the referees.
So with five seconds left, look at how Maryland got the ball back here. It was Burles jumping up, getting the ball on the ground, then Canfield with the check able to scoop it up. Stamos let it go out of bounds at the 30-yard line. So 5 seconds here for Urksa and Maryland to try and get the game-winning shot off. If not, we're headed to a second OT.
They've just moved the clock to 3 seconds. So now it's a prayer. Urksa throws it into the middle at the horn. Stobaugh, no good. That was Ford taking the shot. And well, 4 quarters and overtime was not enough to decide. We're headed to a second overtime here between #1 Maryland and Michigan here on Big Ten Plus. Welcome back to CQ Stadium. Double overtime is about to get started here. Tied up at 10, and just this is such a big game in the context of Big Ten lacrosse. I mean, Michigan has never beaten a #1 team, and they're 1 goal away from doing it. At the same time, Maryland here, just a win would keep them at the #1 spot, but we're going to need a double overtime to decide it. Both teams held scoreless in the first one. Next goal wins. Back to the dot we go. Carrier versus Rideout. Terps were able to win the last face-off at the start of overtime. Face-off won yet again by the Terps. Quick passing, and the Terps are going to go quickly this time. They dish it off. Now they'll slow the offense down. Here's Elijah Stobaugh.
Man, I thought for a second McDonald was going to try and go for the win with what would have been his second goal of the game. But he did the right thing. He passed it off to Urksa, and now Maryland can get their top guys in there and set up a potential game-winning shot.
Stobaugh works past one. Stobaugh fired in front of goal. Taylor had it, and now he gets it permanently. Michigan has to get it out of their own side, but they repel Maryland's first attack. That was a quick shot from Stobaugh, but Hunter Taylor has been a brick wall back there in these first overtime and handful of the second one. Michigan's turn, going for the win. Lockwood. Here's Jenkins. Mulholland takes on a Terp. Has to retreat backwards. Plenty of time for Michigan. Under 40 seconds left on the shot clock. Little shimmy No looks yet. They work it into the middle. It was bounced on the ground, picked up by Jenkins, and a whistle here. A timeout was called by Michigan as they started to get in trouble offensively. Kevin Conry uses a timeout, and both teams will get to take a quick break. You can just feel the tension between these two teams. Something's got to give at some point.
I mean, in the overtimes, right, there's so few possessions in each overtime. And every movement, every pass, every shot means that much more. I mean, look at 27 against Schaller. He's all over the field in this game, causing turnovers left and right, but he did force that timeout. That could have been dangerous for Maryland if Michigan didn't call that timeout. That could have been thrown of a flag, but 2.5 minutes. Michigan still has possession here. They'll only have 26 seconds to work with. I mean, this is two very good offenses, two very good defenses for the right to sit atop the Big Ten to begin Big Ten play. You can't ask for a better game than this. I mean, this is an all-time classic Big Ten matchup in a game that's becoming a rivalry between these two teams, you could even say.
Yeah, Maryland won the first 10 games, as we talked about, but then Michigan has won the last 3, and Michigan looking for their 4th straight here as they're going to have 26 seconds to put their attack on this Maryland team. What a game. I mean, we knew that the Big Ten opener was going to be great. We knew that Maryland, the #1 team, was going to bring it at home, but this Michigan team has just met them right where they are. And that's where we stand, tied up at 10 with 2:30 to go in the second overtime. What a game these fans here at CQ Stadium are being treated to. Maryland has the advantage in shots, 40-32, but Michigan has made more saves. Logan McNaney is going to have to make another save here. Hunter Taylor might have to make one if Michigan can't get the goal on this possession. 26 seconds on the shot clock. Here we go. Michigan out of the timeout. What do they have drawn up? Mulholland sprints in. He will just hold it. He's got 12 seconds to make his move. Here he goes. Mulholland harassed by McDonald. He drops it off. Michigan looking for that shot. They're 2 seconds away, and they're going to dump it into the corner. Stand-up defense from John Tillman's team. Now it's Maryland's turn.
That is not what you want to do in an overtime, is throw the ball into the corner. Couldn't even get a shot off there for Michigan. Excellent defense like it's been ever since the end of the third quarter for Maryland. Remember, they didn't allow a goal in the fourth quarter, didn't allow a goal in the first overtime, and now they, again, are in the driver's seat in the second overtime.
What can Maryland do on offense? They got 52 seconds. Here's Zach Whittier at X. Here's Urksa. Urksa back to Whittier. Whittier with his back to Taylor. Into the middle. Spanos falls down. It goes out of bounds. It's going to stay with Maryland. Boy, that might have been the best look of either overtime, but just couldn't get that one to fall.
And Michigan's defenders just crashed in on Spanos. That was essentially a 1-on-3 right there.
Keegan moves around, looks for a pass. He just flings one out. Did John Tillman get a timeout before that happened? He did. So Maryland will keep possession, and now they're going to have 26 seconds left to make things happen. Boy, oh boy.
Man, you're just holding your breath at every single shot attempt. So here's Whittier Spanos. He's got it, right? But then when Michigan crashes its defenders, that kind of creates a bit of an anxious moment for Spanos, where he's got that defender closing in on his stick side. He's got Taylor to worry about. Didn't have much of an angle. And that slight contact forces the shot to go over the crossbar. But it doesn't ultimately give up the possession for Maryland. They'll still have the 26 seconds, of course. This has just been a defensive masterclass for both sides in these overtime periods.
which is crazy because this first quarter was really high scoring, and we thought, well, okay, we're going to have a shootout on our hands. We got 6 goals in just the first quarter. We had 7 in the second quarter, but things have tightened up in the second half and now overtime. That last replay looked like Spanos had the look, but he just couldn't get 2 hands on the stick, and I think if he did, he would have had a much better chance of clearing Taylor in goal, but wasn't able to, and Maryland will have 26 seconds out of the timeout on the shot clock. If Maryland fails to score, then Michigan will have the last say of second overtime. Just have to think here after 2.5 hours of lacrosse that both teams are just exhausted. It's been such a physical game. 1:08 on the game clock, 26 seconds on the shot clock. Zach Whittier will have the ball. Here we go, yet again. Maryland going for it. Keegan to Whittier. Whittier right in front of goal. He tries to stick it past Taylor. He puts it up, and he was in the crease. It's Michigan ball. Unbelievable. Michigan will have the final say in second overtime. Billings works it to the opposite side. 35 seconds left. Houlihan matches up against Kohler. In the end zone, Jenkins passes it. 20 seconds. Will Kevin Connery use a timeout? He can, he doesn't have any. 12 seconds. Michigan wants the shot. They lost it. Here comes Jack McDonald. Does Maryland have a buzzer beater? McDonald takes it down, fires, saved by Taylor. And the game continues. 10-10.
And Virginia was also the #1 team in the country in that game. I'm not saying this game's going to go to 7 overtimes, Daniel, but I mean, we're already at 3. We're approaching the halfway point. And it just feels like neither team has truly been able to get the advantage either. Neither team's really been that close. We've had a couple of close calls, like right there at the end of the second, but there haven't been a lot of great looks so far in either overtime.
You take a look at the shot disparity, it just continues to grow. Maryland now outshooting the Wolverines by 10, but they have not been able to hit pay dirt yet in this OT. Now in the third overtime, things are really getting desperate here. Michigan's gonna have 24 seconds on the shot clock. Only about 2 minutes have surpassed it here in the third overtime. Michigan just looking for their first win against a ranked team this season. They lost to number 16 North Carolina. They lost to number 6 Duke in an overtime loss. Only 1 overtime need. They lost to number 12 Harvard 11-14. Then the latest loss to Notre Dame 19-7. "24 seconds the Wolverines can work with. Here we go. Mulholland spins around, picked up by a long pole. Cohen retreats. Now he's got 10 seconds to make a run. Cohen goes up the near side, takes a shot. McNaney saves. Terps looking to go on offense. Who will end it? Stamos crosses the 50. Will John Tillman use his timeout? So far, no. Urksa to Ford. Ford looks around and backs up. Keegan. Stobaugh. Stobaugh retreats into the end zone. Stobaugh. Still with it. Wants to find Keegan. Now he does. So far, Tillman is letting them play it out. Keegan doesn't shoot it. Kelly dropped it off, and Michigan takes it back. It's Justin Ennis taking it as he drops it off to his goalie, Hunter Taylor. So John Tillman doesn't even get to the point where he uses his timeout. Maryland just forfeits the possession. Now here comes Michigan on the opposite end. There's Brandon Plemons. Michigan's got about half of the game clock on the shot clock. 50 seconds to work with here in this third overtime. Here come the Wolverines. Houlihan. Good defense. He knocks down his defender, and Michigan wins it. It's Nick Rude. You knew something had to break, and Michigan takes home a victory. March Madness at CQ Stadium. The Wolverines victorious 11-10.
And for the first time ever, the Wolverines have beaten the #1 team in the country. They've got 4 in a row against this Maryland squad in an all-time classic of a college lacrosse game.
There are almost no words to be said. This game was so tightly fought. It was a shootout in the first half. It was a defensive battle in the second half, and pretty much nothing in 2 overtimes. And Rude, the sophomore out of Ontario, with the big goal. You take a look at the replay.
He's wide open right there in the middle, catch and shoot. McDonald just lost him a little bit. He sneaks towards the crease. Rude had probably one of the easier shots of the day on either side, and you see the jubilation by Michigan. Very similar to the sight that was here at CQ Stadium 2 years ago when the Wolverines beat Maryland 16-11. This time it's 11-10, and Rude sends the Wolverines back to Ann Arbor with a statement win in 2025.
So 75 shots combined from these 2 teams, but it proves to be shot number 75, shot number 33 from number 15, Nick Rude, that ends up being the game winner. What a game. 4 quarters, 3 overtimes, and a Michigan win. David versus Goliath, and this time it's David who ends up taking the victory. Michigan, the victors over Maryland 10-11.
I mean, this game, we've talked about it a lot, but man, this just had everything you could have asked for. It was back and forth in its nature. Maryland came back, but ultimately, in 3 overtimes, it's the Michigan Wolverines taking care of business, knocking off Maryland, the only team to do so this season.
What a treat it was to be at CQ for this one. A great game. Thank you to all who